can you scroll up to the pre-processing first? Start from image enhancement. Okay, so in here you try to enhance from contrast, yeah. Why you choose this? Why you choose contrast enhance image?
Only try, ma'am.
Only try, but
Yes.
do you have any specific reason for that? No, yeah.
No, yes, no one.
Okay, so later on, when you do the research, if you wanna apply a method, you need to know the reason why you apply that method. For example, in this original image, we can see that the reason, maybe the reason why you apply contrast enhancement because of the light intensity in here, yeah, the light intensity is very dark. So because
Yes.
of it becomes darker, it makes the contour, yeah, the contour
Hmm.
of each object in here not clear, not really clear or blur.
Oh,
That's why in here you apply this contrast to make sure that each contour, yeah, each contour in the object can be shown clearly. Okay, similar like sharpen image in here, yeah, sharpening. Okay, scroll down. And then after that, this candy, scroll up. Nah, this is yeah. So in here you apply also bilateral filter image. What is bilateral filter image itself? What is it? Yeah? So in here you convert the image into gray first and then after that apply this filter. What filter is it? Bilateral filter, yeah.
black and white.
Sorry. What type of filter is it? Bilateral filter. So if I'm not wrong, yeah, for the filter, of course, this is the process when we select a specific frequency from the pixel only. For example, like we have in RGB, we have 0 until 255, yeah. And then you wanna remove the noise, for example, and then the noise itself related the dark spot and so on. Of course, you need to remove something that uh, near or close to dark, which is in here is 0. That's why you apply a low pass filter, for example. Now in here, you apply bilateral filter. So how this filter works? Hmm?
Ma'am, the reason why I do much pre-processing in here because I
Hmm?
just want to explore the others image pre-processing method. So I try for all the pre-processing methods.
But
And
by
for
the way, for this bilateral filtered image and Kenny Edge, this is already processed by the original image or after enhanced image, yeah? Maybe you can see in here. Oh, this is image sharpen, yeah. It
yeah,
means that
after image sharpen.
okay, after you enhance the image and do sharpen, then you do Kenny edge detection, yeah.
Yes,
Okay, scroll down. After Kenny edge, we found out that we already have the edge, yeah.
yes,
And then in here, you choose HSV. By the way, in HSV, actually the hue and saturation, this is only the way how we modify the V value, yeah, V or value. That's why in here, if we want to process something, of course, the thing that we will process only value, not hue and saturation. Because hue and saturation only the indicator to give the impact related this V or value. Okay, and then in here, this is the sharpen image to RGB. This is hue, saturation, and value. Okay, scroll down. And then after that, okay, you apply LAB. Also, scroll up. I wanna see the code. Okay, in here, after morphological processing, bitwise mask. Oh, wait. So in here you use RGB image ya, not HSV image ya, for this process, for thresholding.
Yes, ma'am. I follow the PPT.
Oh, you follow the PPT. It means that this is different process with previous one. Scroll up, sorry. I want to see the code. Nah, okay, stop. So in here, okay, so you didn't use HSV ya in here. You didn't use HSV. You just use the image after histogram equalization and then convert it to LAB and then do morphological processing and then after that masking using bitwise node and then combine the image which is in here masking and the original one yeah, scroll down and this is the result. Okay, this is the result yeah, scroll down. Okay, good. So in here based on your code we can see that the system can select yeah only the flower which is in here only yellow color. Nah, in here we found out that we have others yeah we have others yellow not only in the middle but in the left side in here small color of yellow. Now in here this is one of the challenge also in handcrafted, how we make sure that they only segment the main object. Yeah, because we assume that the yellow in the left side in here, yeah, in the top left side in here, is the noise that we need to remove. Okay, but that's already good result. Scroll down. Okay, and then okay, this is shape segmented flower. Okay, and then how you extract the color? Sorry, scroll up. How you extract the color? Okay, you use this average RGB color. Okay, so you use average for each R, G, and B, yeah. Okay, and then scroll down. How about for shape? For shape, what features that you use? Okay, in here, okay, calculate the area, perimeter, and so on, yeah. Good job. Scroll down. Okay, good. So in here we already have area, perimeter, and so on. Next, this is the contour result, and then this is the texture. Scroll down. Okay, using LBP and GLCM. So, what is the output of? Okay, scroll up. I wanna see the output. Nah, stop. Scroll down. Stop. No, no, no. I mean the output like, nah, this is texture feature in contrast, blah, 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 blah. Now, this is the numerical value features as a new feature that we get from feature extraction, yeah. And this is from GLCM and from LBP, we have 10 new features, yeah. Okay, scroll down. Okay. And then this is for grayscale. For grayscale, what the things that you extract in here? Only show the histogram, yeah?
Only two, ma'am. Ignore it. Just ignore it.
Okay, okay, good job. Scroll down for HSV, scroll down, scroll down. Okay, so we can see in here only red, yeah. What red line is it, yeah? What value is it? Hue, yeah.
Not red, ma'am. You.
Oh, hue. I think this is not correct. Yeah, maybe you can recheck later for the result.
Okay.
Okay, scroll down. Okay, that's the augmentation. Scroll down. Okay, good. Okay, since this is only flower, it means that even though we rotate it to 180, 90, and so on, they still have the same features or characteristic, ya.
Ya ini kenapa ini yang lama banget jauh ya?
Okay, good. Okay, thank you so much, Sir Sutanto. Give an applause, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your
Okay.
suggestion.
Okay, next, from the others.
May I, ma'am?
Okay, please, Sir Agung Prabowo. For Bu Salma Anissa, please to mute your microphone, ya.
Oh.
Okay. Good morning, ma'am, and the
Yeah.
others. This is the training that you give to us before.
Okay.
It is for the dataset upload.
Okay, so you load all data, ya, or first 5 image? Oh, first 5 image. Okay. And then, okay, you use Clahe. Clahe itself is next level of histogram equalization, ya, using adaptive. Okay, and then
Background removal.
background removal. So how you remove the background in here? The first one is find the contour, ya. Find the contour and then
Apply the max to the original image.
okay. Okay, using RGB. Okay, based on the contour, we find this. Good. Good job. And
Filter
then,
extraction, color, and texture.
okay, so for the color, you use statistical characteristic, ya, mean, and then standard deviation. Okay. And then using GLCM. Okay. Okay, color and texture. Okay.
This is the segmented image.
Okay. Okay, good. Now, in here, the thing that you need to do after you apply feature extraction is how to save your feature extraction result to the GSV file. And then after that, you can like apply normalization or anything else to make sure that each range has a same each data has the same range. For example, can you scroll down?
Yes.
Okay, scroll down. I want to see the value result. Okay, stop. Now
Okay.
in here we can see that for min, ya, min G, ya, min G itself, they have range around 183.
Yes.
But for the texture features, it's become 792. And then you have other features that only 13, yeah. And then others also like homogeneity, yeah, homogeneity.
0.4.
Nah, 0.46. Now we can see that they have a big gap, yeah, between 700 and then 0.46. That's why if we try to process it directly without normalization, it's possible, but of course the computational becomes higher. That's why to make sure that the computational cost that you spend is not very high, you can do normalization first. For example, you apply min-max normalization. So
Min max normalization.
for the minimum value, you assume that this is zero, and for the highest value becomes one. So everything will be start from zero until one, like that.
Normalis.
Yes.
Okay.
Nah, okay, that's correct. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Give an
Thank
applause,
you,
everyone.
ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. We already have two students to show the practice result. Thank you so much. This is what I expect from you guys. So you apply several different methods and then check the result directly, and then you already success to show the feature extraction result, which is this is manually by human. Yeah, this is manually by human. Now, in deep learning, you don't need to do the feature extraction like this, but since this is deep learning, of course, we don't know what happened inside the method. That's why sometimes the deep learning method can be called as black box method. Okay, since this is machine learning course, we will use this manual feature extraction, yeah, every practice or assignment. Okay, I will show you the next material. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. Oh, wait, I forget. Wait a minute. Okay. So this is our third meetings materials. This is about supervised and unsupervised learning. But in here, for the method, we will focus on linear and logistic regression first, yeah. Okay. So as we know, we have two types of data. The first one we have structured data, and the second one we have unstructured data. So what is differences between structure and unstructured? Depend on the illustration that we have in here. We can see that for structure means it's already in the tabular form, yeah. It's already in the tabular form. And then most of them already in the numerical value. Yeah. This is numbers, dates, and string. And then after that, for unstructured data, it is difficult to display in raw columns and relational database since the data itself since in the image, audio, video, word processing files, email, and spreadsheet. And then the data that you process on these practices, yeah, on the last practices, this is we call as unstructured data since the data that we process is image, yeah. The data that we process is image data. And in here, you are already success to convert this unstructured data to the structured one, which is from the image to the numerical value, from color extraction, from the from the texture and shape feature extraction, and so on. So that's the feature extraction or feature engineering method, yeah. Nah, and then what is differences between supervised, unsupervised, and hybrid model? So actually we also have hybrid, yeah, which is this is the combination between supervised and unsupervised. So as we know, for supervised learning, it means that we have labeled data. For example, I have spam and non-spam data and I need to do spam detection. Of course, the data that I already have is the message, or the text mail plus the label, which is this is indicates to the spam or non-spam. Or other examples like the flowers, yeah, the flowers data set. So in the flowers data set, I already have the label in the folder name, for example. So I have several folders and each folder name will be the label, yeah, will be the label of the data. For example, rose, jasmine, lily, and so on. And then how about unsupervised learning? So of course, based on the name, unsupervised learning means that we do training without knowing what type of label or what type of data is it. Yeah. For example, like the folder that I gave to you guys for the practice, you can see that there is no specific label for each image, right? So this is only one folder, and I combine several different flowers in one folder. Nah, using that folder, yeah, you can do training and find out which one of the data that has similar characteristic. For example, if the flowers colors is yellow, they will make a cluster with the data that has a yellow indicator also. And then, for example, for white flower, for example, yeah. So they will grouping, yeah. They will do grouping with other image that also have white flower color and so on. So that's the unsupervised learning. And what is the function or urgency of applying this unsupervised learning? For example, like we want to check our for example, malware. Yeah, for example, in cyberpark we have malware, and we can know that how we know the computer itself already have malware or no if we don't know the characteristic. That's why in here we can take the time series data, for example, like how many times our computers suddenly blue screen, and then how many times stuck in blah blah blah, and then how many times suddenly unknown file already download to your computer and so on. And then based on that pattern, we can grouping that flow to the two clusters, for example. The first one is the healthy computer, and the second one, the computer that already consists of malware. Now, in here, based on that one, we have two different clusters using this pattern of data. Now, this is unsupervised learning. So, for example, we don't know what happened with our laptop, but we already have the pattern. We just need to make a cluster. So, based on that pattern, we can see which one is our computer behavior related to. And then next we have hybrid models. So for hybrid itself, we can combine between labeled and unlabeled data. So for example, like um, for example, we have gender detection or gender identification plus age prediction, yeah. And then the data that already labeled is only age, yeah. The data that already labeled only age. For example, this is 17 years old, this is 20 years old, and so on. But for the gender, we don't know the gender. That's why we can apply this unsupervised learning for having two new clusters. So the first one must be the cluster like boys. Yeah, the second one must be girls. Now in here, uh, this is the example of hybrid, yeah, hybrid model. So the label data itself is the age, yeah, and unlabeled itself is the gender. So we don't know the gender, but based on the characteristic, we will have two new clusters, which is this is will be shown as girl and boy. Okay, next. Now, this is the comparison between supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. So, uh, in here for um, this is yeah for the supervise, yeah, for the supervise itself, we have data with labels, yeah. We already have data with labels, and then the target itself to mapping, yeah, to mapping this uh, data itself related to X class, Y class, or Z classes, Z label. But in unsupervised in here, we don't know that the data itself have no labels, and then the output itself, how many classes or how many cluster or group that we have based on that data. And then for reinforcement learning, this is that the training that do continuously based on the current situation. This is for example, if you play the game and then you use ChatGPT also, they will do continuous learning. And this is if we compare it, this is the detail comparison. This is for supervised learning. The input data is labeled. This is unlabeled. This is have a feedback mechanism. Since we need to do validations with the model, and here no feedback. This is based on training data. This is based on the property itself, the characteristic to find the similar characteristic between each data. And then in here, the task we can do using this supervised is regression and classification. In here, clustering and associations. But commonly task that we can do is clustering. This is for prediction. This is for analysis. This is can be used for decision tree and then logistic regression, automation, and so on. This is for the algorithm. This is for the algorithm for unsupervised, such as K-means clustering, hierarchical clustering, and a priori algorithm. This is So in here we already know the classes that we have, but in here unknown. That's why in here, if we have a new data, we will check this new data itself related to the class A or class B. But in here we can see that we don't know what label, since all of them are cycle in here. We assume that all of them are cycle. We don't know what label is it, but we have pattern. We can see based on the characteristic, they have two different patterns, and this similar characteristic will be one group and the others will be others group. So like this. But we don't know what label is it. The thing that we know only they have the similar characteristic. Okay. Oh, sorry. This is two main areas for supervised. The first one we have classification. Second we have regression. So anyone of you guys that know the difference between classification and regression? Maybe Dasta. Dasta, can you hear my voice? Dasta. Dasta. Okay, Gibran.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Gibran, do you know the differences between classification and regression?
Between the two, ma'am.
Hello?
I think that classification is a problem that are already sorted out.
Papa, Mama,
Hello?
Mama.
Sorry? Yeah. Your voice is not clear. So for
Mhm.
classification,
It's already a sorted kind of problem.
and then for regression,
Regression, but it means the problems keep going, ma'am.
can you mention the example?
Example, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Sorry, ma'am. I not think about an example for this.
Okay, it's very okay. Thank you, Gibran. How about you, Dasta? Are you there, Dasta? Dasta? or Taufik Hidayat?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Do you know the differences between classification and regression?
Uh, Classification models we can use for tasks with clear and discrete outcomes, and regression model we use for tasks with several input variables.
Okay, can you mention the example?
Uh, Wait,
Okay.
the example. Mm, Not yet, ma'am. I don't know the example.
Okay. So, thank you so much for the explanation. So, we have two types. The first one is classification, and the second one is regression. So, both tasks in here have data plus label. So, both of them have data plus label. But what is differences between classification and regression? So, for classification, the output, like the name, yeah, is the class or category. For example, like gender identification. Of course, the output will be girl or boy, man or woman, depend on the class that we have. But for regressions, this is how we predict the continuous value or variable. For example, like age estimation. So in classification, for example, we already know, this is woman, but how old she is. So we predict the age of that woman using this regression. For example, this girl around 20 years old, for example. So, classification for detecting based on specific label or class that we have, for example, for gender identification, yeah, man or woman. But for regression, this is to predict the continuous value or variable. And it's not always mutlak value, yeah. Sometimes it can have like comma and so on, point and so on, yeah. Okay, do you understand the differences between classification and regression, guys? Understand?
Yes, ma'am. Understand.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have. Okay, this is yeah supervised learning. This is the example of the supervised learning. Now in here, we can see that this is our raw data. Yeah, this is our raw data. And then after that, we can split the data into training, testing, and validation. Nah, in the training, testing, and validation data, we need to make sure that in the training data, they also have the label. Yeah, this is yeah, the side. Nah, and then based on this algorithm, process, and output based on the number of classes that we have. This yeah. Nah, in here, how about unsupervised learning? This is yeah can perform more complex tasks than supervised. That's why in machine learning, the challenge itself in the unsupervised learning, yeah, not supervised. Since for supervised, yeah, we already know the level, and then we just need to find the best algorithm, yeah, for the data. But in here, for example, we wanna cluster the data into several group. How to decide how many groups that we need to cluster? Okay, maybe based on the data characteristic. How if the data characteristic itself is very complex? So you need to give the initial cluster first in the beginning. Now this is the challenge. That's why you need to have a good analysis in the one. Nah, this is the example ya. For example, in fruit classification, we have a lot of type of fruit. It can be like papaya, watermelon, and then after that pineapple, apple, and so on. And then we can see that we don't know how to cluster this a lot of fruit. If we want to cluster based on the characteristic, yeah, for example, based on the color only, apple and pomegranate in here becomes one cluster, and for this I don't know, this is lemon, yeah, and lemon and kiwi itself will be different class, yeah, if based on the color only. And then how about if based on the shape, yeah, if based on the shape, yeah, this all cycle, this cycle, and then this is also cycle, will be the same group with the watermelon, yeah, because the shape is cycle. Now in here, based on this illustration, I believe that they cluster the image or the fruit based on not only a shape but also the size of the fruit, yeah, the size of the fruit. So if you can see in here, this is a small size, this is the medium size, and this is the big size of fruit. So if the size itself is small, they will cluster into same group. For example, like this, we have grape, berry, and cherry. Yeah. Since they have a small size, they will cluster into same group. And then for the second cluster, this is medium, yeah. Apple, lemon, pomegranate, kiwi, and so on. And then the last cluster, this is have a big size. Can be watermelon, melon, and then pineapple, papaya, and so on. Nah, in here, the illustration is grouping the fruit based on the size. How if we as programmer wanna grouping the fruit based on the color characteristic? Of course, the number of cluster will be different also. Yeah, that's why the challenge in machine learning itself, how you can deal with this unsupervised learning. This is the big challenge. Understand? Understand, guys?
Yes, ma'am. Understand, ma'am.
Okay, good. Next, we have this. Okay, I think you can read it by yourself. Yeah, we have unsupervised, supervised, and this reinforcement learning. This is similar like before, but more detailed. Okay, so we have regression and classification. As we know before, for regression itself, the output must be the continuous variable, and then for classification, it must be the categorical thing. It means that the number of classes or the number of labels already defined in the beginning. But for regressions, the examples like age estimation, so we know that the variable can be changed every we load the model. For example, like for right now, wait a minute, yeah. For example, like based on my face image, it will be detect this misses around 30 years old. But for the second iteration, it can be I'm already changed to 28 or 27, or if I use the filter on my face, it becomes a 20 or less than 20 years old, and so on. So this is yeah, a continuous variable. Nah, during training, we need to divide the data into three types, yeah, training, testing, and validation. And then this is the ratio. For training and validation will be used during training process. So they will reshuffle sometimes training, sometimes validation, and so on. But for testing, this is the data that never been used during training or testing. So this is the training data, this is validation data. Yeah. Now in here, we have model performance and evaluations. Of course, we need to check the model of our data from our training data itself already good or no, based on the exact parameter. Yeah, we need to have a exact parameter. So it can be like this is yeah, mean square error if this is for regression. If for classification we have confusion matrix, accuracy, and so on. Okay, this is the logistic regression example. So in logistic, this is for supervised learning, yeah. And then for the performance evaluation measurement, we can use this, such as accuracy, misclassification, rate precision recall, ROC, curve confusion matrix, and so on. Nah, actually, these logistic regressions and linear regression have the same basic function, yeah, have the same basic function, which is this is bias, and X itself is our data, yeah. X itself is our data, which is after you do feature extraction, you will have like a lot of value from texture, from color, and so on, and it will be the X in here, yeah. It will be the X in here. Now, this is the examples um, of the classification, yeah. For example, this is our data. This is our data. We have admit, yeah, admit itself 0 or 1. If 0 is rejected, admitted is 1. This is encoding, yeah, so we need to convert rejected and admitted into 0 and 1. And then we also have the GPA and then the prestige. Now in here, we will check based on the GPA, this is rejected or admitted. Nah, we can see in here, yeah. This is the line. This is the line that will be used to split these two category. This is we have two classes, yeah. This is we have two classes or two category. Nah, if we use, this is linear, yeah. This is linear. If we use linear, we can see that these two types of data cannot differentiate very well, since this line cannot split these two different classes. That's why if you want to use linear regression for classification, this is not possible. Why not possible? Because like the name, linear regression. So they will divide to different classes using linear line or linear function. And the linear line looks like this. That's why we have the thing that we call as logistic. Yeah. Wait, where is logistic? Yeah. Nah, this is logistic regression. So using this type of line, yeah, this type of shape, we can see and split two types of category based on this, yeah, GPA value, and we can see that this type of line can differentiate to different classes. Nah, okay, Jesse. Any question, Jesse? We cannot hear your voice, by the way. Okay, next verse, ya. Nah, in here, how to use linear regression. So to use the linear regression, this can be used if we have a continuous value or variable. For example, like age estimation, which is the output only age, only one. And then we can use this linear line to predict the age of each classes or each data. Nah, and then in here, this is the example of the logistic, yeah. So if you wanna do classification, we can use logistic regression. But if you wanna do prediction, like predict the age or age estimation, we can use linear regression. So linear regression is not possible for classification task, yeah. But they have the same function actually. They have the same function. The things that makes they are different only in the activation function. So this is we call as activation function or the types of the line. If classification using logistic like this, if predict the numerical value or continuous variable using linear. Yeah, linear like this. This is linear. And then after that, the question is, ma'am, how to, for example, if 0 is rejected and 1 is admitted, how if our output range itself is between 0 until 1, for example, like 0 0.5, 0 0.3, or 0 0.6. Nah, this is so we will apply thresholding. This is the examples. If the output itself is less than 0 0.5, we will assume that this is rejected. Yeah, if the result itself is 0 0.5, it becomes rejected. But if the result itself more than or similar to 0 0.5, it becomes admitted. And this is based on the activation function result. Nah, this is if we want to compare, we have two types of data, and then if we use this linear, if we will use this linear, we can see that this is not possible since linear cannot split to different classes very well. But if we use this probability using logistics, we can see that this type of activation function can be used to differentiate two types of classes. This is in the middle. If less than or similar if less than 0 0.5, it becomes this, the first class, or in here is rejected. If more than or similar to 0 0.5, it becomes admitted in this class. Okay. Nah, and then this is the example of the linear regression. The question is how to evaluate the performance of the model. Okay, how to evaluate it? If classification, we can use confusion matrix. Now, in this confusion matrix, we have this based on the truth table, positive, negative, in predicted positive, negative. If the truth itself is positive but predicted as positive, it becomes true positive. For example, for gender identification, the real data, in real data, I'm a woman. In real data, I'm a woman, and then my model predict that I'm also a woman. It becomes positive, positive, and true positive. But if the truth I'm woman, but my model predict that I'm a man, it becomes false negative. It becomes false negative. If the truth itself, for example, the truth itself is I'm not a man, for example, and then predicted as, for example, girl, it becomes false positive. And if this is not man and this is not man, it becomes true negative. Nah, okay. So this is the real explanation. And based on this true positive, false positive, and true negative number, we can calculate the metrics, such as the accuracy, precision, recall, and so on. Now, this is the activation function that I mentioned before. So we have some, but for this is easily used in the neural network, for the linear regression and logistic regression, only logistic or softmax, and also the linear activation function. Okay, that's all the material. Next, we go to Q&A. For your information, my battery now around 14%, so I'm so sorry if we have no longer time for Q&A session. Okay, the first question from Jessia. Okay, the question is, when we want to training the data, can we have threshold before training data? I was thinking it will be data leakage. For example, we want count the number of vehicle to predict traffic jam, or it is depend on the cases. Okay, what threshold that you mean in here, ya, Jesse?
For example, if under 0.3, it will be low traffic, and 0.4 until 0.7 it's medium, and after that it's high.
Okay, in here you wanna identify or predict the traffic and categorize it into three classes, yeah, for example, low, medium, and high. And then for low itself, for example, 0.33, for medium 0.33 until 66, and above 66 it becomes high. Okay, the question is, it is possible or no? Yeah, that's very possible. But Jesse, we know that in the classification we have confidence score. We have confidence score. Now in here, if you use deep learning, we can set the confidence score to produce that category. For example, like if we modify the confidence score only 0.4, it means that every object that already detect with confidence value 0.4 minimum, yeah, they can detect as the object. But how if the small object, you see, small object need lower confidence value? So this is more complex than divided into three category based on the threshold. Yeah, that's more complex than that one. Since for the traffic jam, it means that you need to check the density of the vehicle on the road, and then not, if you lower your confidence score, of course they can detect multi object for multi class for one object. For example, uh, we have one truck, yeah, or one minibus, but since you make the confidence score to be lower, it can detect that in one minibus it will detect 3 times. Understand what I mean? That's why in here you need to manage the confidence score first. If the confidence score that you set already correct, and you can detect the small object, yeah, small object on the road, yeah, you can make the threshold to be like that. But it also depend on your data. If your data itself is very clear and ignore the small object, yeah, you can use it. But if the data itself is considered the small object, yeah, small object like the car that too far from the camera and so on, I think 0.33 and 0.66 not the good answer for you, Jesse. So you can split it into three just in case you ignore the small object.
Okay. How about the threshold is defined when the training data? So the threshold will be not exact. For example, we have uh, only two, low and high, which is 0.5 if we define before training. But how about the can it be adaptive, like it can be, the threshold can be 0.555 or 0.6?
Mm, if this is threshold for classification, uh, it's depend on your activation function. If your activation function is like sigmoid, softmax, it's absolutely 0.5 as the in the middle. So 0.5 and less will be class A, and 0.5 and more will be class B. But if you use others activation function, so we have so many activation function, it can be 0. It can be disease will be mutlak 0 or mutlak 1, absolutely 0 or absolutely 1. So disease depend your activation function. Yeah, since disease classification.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am. And the last question, may I know, I'm not sure, but I have read the paper, but I want to need the confirmation from you about the evaluation metric in the
Mhm.
previous slide.
Mhm.
Uh, how do mm, how do we handle if we want to improve the F1 score
Mhm.
and the precision or recall and etc. Uh, is it has different handling or how many?
Okay. In here we have accuracy, precision, recall, F1 score. For accuracy, depend on the name, this is based on the true positive, yeah. How accurate the model to detect this is true positive and true negative only, yeah. Only based on the percentage of the ratio true positive and true negative. And then for the uh, precision, for the precision itself, it will be linear with the accuracy related true positive. So if our uh, true negative and false negative itself already, sorry, if false negative already decrease, it means that the precision can be higher. But for recall, this is depend on how many times our model can predict that data correct. For example, like I have 10 data and I test it 10 times, yeah, for 10 data. It means that I will have 100 result. So the recall itself based on how many times the model can predict my data correctly. For example, from 10 times, they can detect it 8 times correctly. So this is based on the individual data or unique data. But for precision and recall, precision and accuracy based on the total, yeah, based on the total data. But for recall, this is based on a specific or individual or unique data. And then for F1 score, of course, this is the combination between precision and recall. So if you want to increase the F1 score, you need to increase the precision and recall first. Since the F1 score formula from recall and precision. Like that, Jesse.
So if our purpose is improve the recall, is it is it accept accepted if the accuracy or precision is decreased, ma'am?
I think no, Jesse. So each matrix have a specific purposes, Jesse. If this is in healthcare field, yeah, if this is in healthcare field, of course we can ignore the recall. We can ignore the recall. The thing that we need to pay attention only in accuracy and precision. If this is in healthcare, not recall, yeah.
How
But
about this? Oh,
mm,
sorry, ma'am.
and then if this is like general, yeah, sorry, if this is healthcare, we need to consider accuracy, recall, and precision. If this is general, we can ignore recall, only the accuracy or precision only, it doesn't matter. But in general, in fact, it itself like this is the topic that will not give a direct impact to the living things. Now, for example, like the topic that you mentioned before to predict the traffic jam. So this is not something very crucial. Actually, yeah, this is not affect to the human and others living thing. That's why we can ignore the recall in here. It doesn't matter if the recall is very low, since they have a good accuracy and precision. But for the healthcare, we need to follow the accuracy, precision, plus also recall. Why recall is important? Because how can one person can detect different output in same times? It is not a good, yeah, model, yeah, if they can not have a good recall metrics. Like BGC.
How about the phishing detection, ma'am? Because recall and false negative rate is important, right?
Okay, for phishing detection, recall is okay, precision okay, accuracy juga okay sih. If phishing, since this is related the cyber ya, so it will have a good impact. And then for the recall itself, if the pattern or the behavior of the detection itself are detect different, it means that the recall is slower. If the recall is slower, it means that your model is not good enough to detect the phishing behavior.
So for phishing detection, not only written but precision and accuracy. So
Yeah, all of them.
okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other question? Maybe the last one, yes, since my battery already less than 10%. By the way, for the session 4 or meeting number 4, it will be the assignment. Yeah, I will upload the assignment to eCampus today. At least after not breakout anymore. Yeah, and then after that, you can submit it to eCampus. The deadline maybe around 1 week, like that. Any question, guys, before we close? No question. Okay, so let's close the session today. I'm so sorry, yeah, since we need to close early since my battery status already less than 10%. See you on the next. Okay, Sri Natasha.
Sorry, ma'am,
Attendance
I
ya?
was late today. Yes.
Okay.
Could you please put me my attendance?
Yes, well, I haven't taken attendance.
Wait. Adeno Fitrisia. Permit, and then Alvita not coming ya. Bagas,
Yes, ma'am, present.
dan Fauzi, Nuradani,
Present, ma'am.
present. And then
Yes, ma'am.
Jessie, okay. And then Sri Natasha, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yahya, Yulia,
Present, ma'am.
Yulia only ya. Okay, done. Okay. What's up, Dasta?
I'm sorry. I have an urgent call, ma'am, before. So I didn't ask for your question.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, see you on the next week, guys. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.